posted because there was comment that I made and specifically request to be included in the minute, and it was not included.
Jennifer, I don't know how many times we have to talk about meeting minutes. You heard it from everyone,
Meeting minutes
including
need to
Gary
report
Mars.
what happened in the meeting.
Meeting minutes are, and I can refer to the meeting that Gary Mars attended where he said, and he called you out on that, because you had the same comment. Motions and votes are the only things that are in the meeting minutes. So that's what we're following. We're following that format. We've mentioned it several times, so.
But that particular vote is to order the glass railing without owner's vote. And I raised that as a serious concern because.
That's actually not accurate. You first agreed that the rails could be.
Let me finish, please.
Sure.
Under the bylaws and anything over a certain limit, and there is a percentage of our operational costs that needs owner's vote, particularly for material change. And I raised that as a concern, and until our proxy approved the amendment to the condo bylaws, and I question whether this can actually happen. That's all I'm asking.
All right, Steve, let me handle. First of all, Steve, let me just say one thing real quick. Okay, first of all, I agree I should not have cut you off, but this is frustrating because we've discussed this for endless amounts of time, which of course is not readily apparent from the video because we just started this meeting. However, this issue has been beaten to death, right? And this is why nothing ever gets done in this association, because she does things like this, right? She agreed the board could vote on rails when they were the color she wanted. No problem. Blue rails, excellent, I'm very happy about it. Then we switched to bronze, now all of a sudden it needs an owner vote. Now, leaving aside the legal mumbo jumbo, which I'm happy to get to, there is no rational argument that anyone could make that blue rails don't need an owner vote, but bronze rails do. That's obviously absurd.
All of them do.
Okay, so, okay, but that's not what she said, right?
I never
When you
said
voted
owner
for it, I mean, it's
did
not
vote.
correct, and we have the minutes to establish it, which you also voted to approve. When the rails were blue, you had no problem with them. They switched color, and now all of a sudden an owner vote is needed. Now, if owner vote is not needed, and I've discussed this with the bank for several reasons, but you only need one, right? The statute unambiguously says that hurricane protection in an area that the association is obligated to maintain can be installed without an owner vote. I mean, you can laugh all you'd like.
So
right?
railing is hurricane protection?
Yes, up to 180 miles an hour. I'm not gonna sit here and discuss with you. Railings are no longer to code and cannot be reinstalled. So now the question is, do we add more metal posts? What do we do to alter these railings so that they can get to the code? And once you are already required to alter the railings, you do not need an owner vote. So I get it that this doesn't agree with what you believe, but you are wrong. And that's why I went to law school and you didn't. So
And I went to engineering school and you didn't.
Okay, but
And I
that
know
is-
about hurricane
Right.
protection more
Okay.
than you do.
Even assuming that that is not correct, which again, I don't agree with, and I am sorry that I am so frustrated, but we have been talking about this and beating it to death, and we're here to discuss an election monitor, and somehow we're back on rails. It's like this Passover song where no
This
matter what
is
you
the
do,
meeting
you go all the way
minutes.
back to the beginning and repeat to everything that came before, okay? I am
This
getting
is referring
frustrated.
to the meeting
Okay,
minutes.
listen, I get it that you use the meeting minutes as an opportunity to bring up something that we have discussed multiple times. The reason why we had a second meeting, of course, is because you started complaining. We took one vote to put in glass rails, which she voted for.
Can
Then the
I-
color changed.
Can I reply
You
to
can.
that? Okay. The first vote was to whether to do the glass railing versus the aluminum railing. And the thinking is that the price difference is about $600,000. So the difference in return would be very different. That was the reason why I said, great, let's vote for the glass railing. And let me finish. And then what happened was that I never say anything. I said, I need to see the rendering so we can send everyone and then bring a sample
One
in
moment, we can't.
and
hear
just to
both.
see how the railing looks in our building. And then depending on different color. So I never say, oh, we're going to do the glass railing without owner's vote, without even reviewing
He's
the.
gotta wait for his.
So then, when they start changing the colors and then changing the bronze and then changing the smoke, I said, what's the difference? If we're spending $1.2 million and just to look like the other two buildings, I was like, that doesn't really fulfill the purpose for investment. So that's all I say, but regardless, I never say blue, you don't need to have owner's vote. I never say when it's black or bronze, then you need owner's vote.
You've said your piece, it's
The
not correct. You
owner's
100%
vote is
voted for
required
blue
based on
rails.
the bylaws. And I did not like it, so that's
All
why.
right, we're gonna move on. I wanna give Christian a chance to talk. You've had your chance, I've certainly had my chance. Christian, go ahead.
Go ahead, Christian.
One, the subject was about the reading the list.
Okay, yeah.
Second point, this meeting has to be done between board members and the audience has no voice until they are told they can talk. So, whether the people in the audience that need to ask questions, they raise their hand and they wait until they come to their time. We don't wait people from the audience in this kind of conversation on the board.
I cannot hear that.
All right, listen, Christian, it's unfortunately, we're not in the social hall and it's very hard to hear you. We're doing the best that we can. I will certainly, yes, I mean, of course, everyone needs to try and you know, we all can only talk one at a time. It's why we typically try to do these meetings in a social hall so that we have a system, a phone system, but here we're relying on cell phones. It is what it is. Okay, so I think we've beaten the minutes to death. Someone want to make a motion to waive reading of the minutes?
I made the motion to waive the reading and approve the minutes for April 16, 2019. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Even though it's aye.
Okay, Jennifer?
And I object.
Okay, 4-1, it passes.
Okay. Next meeting minutes, thank you, everyone, so the motion passed. The next meeting minutes are April 22nd, 2019. I'd like to make a motion to waive the,
These are the members.
yeah, they're not silenced.
I don't think, we did it.
All right, let me repeat. I'd like to make a motion to waive the reading and approve the minutes for the meeting of
You
April
can't do it. You can't
22nd,
do it.
2019.
Whoever, yeah, okay, so whoever was on a member call had a lot of background, but it appears they
Muted.
silenced their phone. Yeah, if you are a member and you are on the phone, please mute your phone. Okay.
All right, so I made the motion
So April 22nd?
to waive the reading and approve the minutes of the meeting for April 22nd, 2019. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Even though it's aye.
So the,
Rich, aye.
Okay,
so on this one, every-
Sharon, aye, so it's unanimous approval.
on the April 22nd.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next item. I have nothing to report under President's report.
Okay.
Treasurer's report. Do you have anything, Christian, on Treasurer's report?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
We don't have anything to report yet.
Okay, so let's go to the next item, which is discussion and vote and/or ratification to hire a monitoring company to assist in the upcoming elections.
Okay, so I'm gonna just briefly discuss this. The board previously paid a monitor to come and monitor the election. However, and Ziggy, luckily, there's a tape of the meeting, which you can certainly listen to. I have. It is one of the more unbelievable meetings, but what happened was you had several things on the agenda, and one of those things was self-management, one of those things was LTM group, and everybody was screaming at each other. And finally, after about an hour and change, the board moved to adjourn the meeting and no vote took place.
How do you know? How do you know that you were not there?
I listened to it. right? I should have gotten you to say publicly what you've already said in emails, that you remember a vote that never took place.
Well, and I have witnesses too,
You
so.
have one witness that you then sent me an email with different font, with different color font. I mean, I literally thought you were joking.
That's
It's
how-
what
that's
they-
how I
what they
received it.
play in Hollywood with the different colors and the different fonts.
That's how I
obviously-
received it.
Obviously, you cut and pasted that.
No,
okay?
no, you are accusing me of falsifying documents. You have no right to do that. That's how I received that email.
What I said was the email you sent me from an owner had different color font and different style font. People can draw their own conclusions from that. What I also said was that you've said over and over again that you remember a vote occurring which never took place. So either you're lying or have a really bad memory. Either way, right? I have now listened to this tape, right? It's a recording. I guess tape is old school way of referring to it. But in any case, there was no vote. So now we have this issue of the board paid for something and put something in motion without a vote. So the proper thing to do under Florida law is to ratify it. And we are going to take it because the monitor is going to come here to count the ballots, and we've actually already paid her, even though we should not have, because there was no vote. In any case, the purpose of this meeting today is to clean up the fact that we hired a monitor without a proper vote, which of course you didn't hear about before today because these two approve. And whenever they approve of something, the formality doesn't matter. It can be done however, but when they don't approve, then they object to the formalities. This is what's been going on since I've been representing the association, and I'm sure from much before as well. So,
can I request a copy of that video or audio?
you can. I mean, I have it in a WhatsApp format, but I'm sure it can be made
Yes,
available,
please make it available.
in
so
some other
we can-
format.
Who recorded that meeting?
It was never announced.
It was never announced that
I'm
therefore.
sorry that you weren't aware that your lie could be checked. But anyway,
Well, listen, this is slander, and this is on a
I'm
tape.
sorry, your bad memory. I apologize. Your
Okay,
bad
well,
memory.
I have a second witness.
Yeah.
Sure,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
Is it really make a difference what happened in the past if we can do this right now? That was a different board, and I'm not saying that it did happen in the past because, quite frankly, I'm under the belief that there are two people who have a terrible memory, and only one other individual was able to come up to support his witness. And in fact, we have minutes that don't reflect this. And if there was an issue with the minutes, then somebody should have made comments about these minutes sometime over the last 3 to 4 months. That all being said, there is a reason why you have minutes. It's because it's to avoid these types of situations where people have faulty memory. So you turn to the minutes and you look to them to see for the veracity of the truth. Okay, so that's the purpose of the minutes. That all being said, we are here today with a different board, and we have the ability to vote on this issue, and it makes what happened in the past meaningless, other than to prove or disprove the fact that people have faulty memory.
I'd like to follow that.
Could you let him finish? Just let him finish.
finish?
I'm sorry, she interrupted and I didn't hear what you had said. What was the question?
His point was that it doesn't matter what happened in the past because we're going to vote properly today, which somewhat moots out what happened in the past. I am anticipating, though, the complaint that we are sending the ballots to the management office. And the reason we did that without a vote, obviously, is because you don't need a vote to send ballots to the management office, right? So, there is, part of the issue, of course, is that, as I've said, whenever they like the result, everything's fine. But when they don't like the result, they, in many instances, make up technicalities, right? Which is what causes the legal bills to be so high. But in any case, okay, as Stephen pointed out, what happened in the past is mooted out once we take the vote now. But the reason why your ballots went out to the association's office is because obviously the board doesn't need to vote to have you send ballots to the association's office. Okay. So that's you're certainly free to respond to that, Jennifer.
First of all, I'd like to make everyone understand, if Mr. Stuart Zober is representing the association and he has to be non-biased, And he has to be neutral for everything he says and everything he does. And I'd like to raise a serious concern that has not been the case. And I have been harassed repeatedly through emails and through all the communications.
So has my
And,
wife, by the way.
secondly, I am talking, I'm sorry, okay? And I do not appreciate when association use our money to pay a lawyer who has been attacking me, who has been attacking some owners, and then supporting the 4 of the controlling board members. And this is what I have observed for the past probably 2-3 months, and I'd like to make a comment on that. And with that all said, I want all the owners to understand that he is representing the entire association, not just 4 board members.
I thought you were representing the entire
I mean,
association.
so a couple.
But it hasn't
fir-
been
first of
feeling
all-
that way,
First of
okay? I
all,
want everyone
first
to
of all,
understand that.
okay, the job of the association attorney is to make sure that the board stays within the bounds of the law, which I am doing. The problem is that Jennifer does not like the end result. And in the beginning, I reached out to her and I said, let's try and, I mean, first of all, let's not forget how we started this, right? They made up a fake organizational meeting. They pretended Ziggy was the president. This is how I came into this, right?
Be
And I
careful
said
what you
after,
say is recorded, okay?
unlike you, I don't make up
Be
stories
very,
about
very
what took
cautious.
place. I'm very happy to have this on tape, okay? The reality is, number one, I came into this association when you guys were creating a fake board meeting to create a different board than what should have been. I nevertheless reached out to you and said, let's try to work together for the good of the association. You don't want that. You want your will to control, and the moment your will doesn't control, you do whatever you can to stop, which is why you have been in a construction
Make sure
zone
it's
for
recorded.
years,
Okay.
okay? It is being recorded, but you've said that 3 different times at
Yes,
least.
I want to keep
So-
reminding you, everything you say will be used down the road.
Could you please say to Jennifer, if you stop speaking, then the legal fees would be lower because you let the attorney speak, and we can go through this, but you keep insisting on this, which is why the attorney keeps getting involved in everything, because you think you went to law school, but you didn't, and you need to think that it translates exactly to what
I
you
mean-
want somebody else to do. No, Jennifer, you are the reason why our legal fees are so expensive.
I don't want to
Okay,
relitigate
well,
everything that
everyone
has happened to
understand
date, but I
the
will
reason-
say,
All right,
you
one
made up
person
a
at a
fake
time.
$800 rule. First, the response was,
This
we
is the
did-
invoice, okay?
Right.
I'm not faking about anything.
No, what
okay?
you said-
This is the expense that's
Nobody
gonna cost
disputes,
us.
right, because
for
you
the
made up a
monitor.
fake $800 rule. You said that we could hire the monitor without a vote because it was $800 and the law allows that. It's purely wrong. Okay, you just make
This is
stuff
the
up.
invoice,
Right,
okay?
because I have
I
to then
a
get on
copy
the
of
phone with the
invoice.
board to say, no, Jennifer just made that up, it's complete nonsense, and that's not accurate.
Anybody want to
Okay.
read this invoice? I have it printed
I mean,
here,
you know,
okay?
Originally,
Okay.
the election money.
By the way, the details should not have been distributed. The amounts, yes, but hopefully you didn't give them the details of the billing invoice. Because there's privileged information to anyone, really.
No, no.
But this is,
just
in an
actual amounts.
open board meeting, I'm showing everyone this is the invoice for the 800. Also, I want to make it very clear, the reason why I want him to be recorded is in case he's not representing the association, following the Florida statute, and we're not going to pay his legal bill, because that's misrepresentation. Okay, I'm trying to save everyone's bill down the road.
Jennifer, all right, we're gonna move forward. I mean, I could go on and on about the falsehoods that she has said, but I'm not going to because I'm sure it's not lies. I'm sure they're mistakes,
They're
and
not
obviously I don't know
mistakes.
what's in her head. But the bottom line is, you know, it's one thing after another. I mean, this rail thing that we spent 20 minutes on earlier is the perfect example. It was okay when the color was blue. The moment the color became bronze, now it's a problem. Okay. I'm going to move on. The bottom line is there was no previous vote on the monitor, and this is the first time the association is holding a vote about the monitor. So if anyone has any comments or questions on that, I will certainly open the floor. But it's, you know, we're going to hire a monitoring company to come and count the votes.
Well, actually, there was a vote in general on a monitor that we don't go with lawyer, that we don't go with DBPR for monitoring, that we are going to hire a monitoring company. And we authorized the management specifically to hire a monitoring company with the understanding that the bill is within an $800 range. And we had the proposals. And they made the decision which monitoring company to retain. Subsequently, the board in email discussions all agreed that all the ballots should go to a P.O. box to avoid any accusation of, falsifying the election or modifying. Sorry?
That was for the February.
That was for the. Hold on.
I want to start with.
Yeah.
We got to unpack this, but go ahead.
Who do you want to say?
Well, Ziggy, let Ziggy finish, and then.
Yeah. So the board in emails. This was not a vote. This was an opinion. Every single one of the board members, including Sharon, including Rocio, says yes, it's a good idea that the ballots go to a P.O. box. This way there will be no suspicion of falsifying votes or throwing out votes or losing votes and so forth and so forth. And that's why we agreed on the specific procedure, that the ballots go to a P.O. box, and we paid for that P.O. box, which is still paid because it was paid for 3 months. So we still have it.
Whatever. Are you done, Ziggy?
Yes, I'm done.
Sure, go ahead.
Go ahead, Steve.
Are you there?
Wait, I thought that was done on an vote.
That was all done via email.
Okay. So I wanted to make this primary point, okay? I really do admire your persistence in the face of a recording that demonstrates that actually did not happen. But regardless of that, okay, you just even admitted that a vote that didn't happen didn't include the P.O. box, and that was decided by email, which I'm sure, because I've sent multiple emails with the statute that says the board can't vote by email. So even assuming that email took place, it really should not have. Of course, the two of you didn't object because you agreed with the result, so naturally nobody said anything about the email vote. But the bottom line is, number one, there was no vote on a monitor. It simply didn't happen. And unbelievably, despite me telling you that there's a recording, you still continue to make that up. But number two, even in your made-up vote that never happened, you just admitted that the email was where they decided on the P.O. box, which clearly isn't a valid vote. Now, I don't want to get into technicalities, but some of them, of course, are, like Stephen Russell said, that was, of course, for a February election. But here is the real reason. I'm going to cut through this, what's proper, what's not, okay? In February, we were more than happy, the board was more than happy to have the monitor collect the ballots and to have her do everything, because the ballots were going to go out with an appropriate amount of time in advance, and the election was going to be during the height of season. The problem is no one's here anymore. I mean, you can look at this room. There's nobody here, right? You can't see it on the tape because the tape is only, focused on us. But there are maybe, 8, 9 owners in the room, if that. So, 8, right? So, no one's here anymore. We are concerned. The other thing, too, is when we set this election in May, right, I said we need to get the ballots out as soon as possible, which under Florida law is 34 days in advance. Because many people who are not here are in Canada, they're in South America, they're wherever they are. And we needed to get those ballots out to make sure that people got them and had a chance to return them. However, we all know what happened with Judy, right? So we then spent 2 weeks trying to figure out whether Judy was going to be on the ballot, and it delayed the ballots over 2 weeks. So now we're sending them out, yes, in accordance with the law. The law says you only have to get these ballots out 14 days in advance. But for someone in Argentina, for someone in those countries, they're not going to get that ballot, if at all, until right before. Okay? We want to know who's received their ballots and who's returned their ballots, so that we can get out the vote efforts. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. The monitor will not do that. She will show up with whatever ballots trickle in. Okay? So the decision that we are about to make is obviously you all, maybe some of you even got them already. They went out on Thursday. I don't know if anyone's even gotten them already. It looks like one person is,
Today.
so.
Okay, some of you get it today and some didn't.
Right, I mean, it's obviously, this is the nature of mail, right? People get it and they don't. And they went out on Thursday. Typically a couple of days is the average if it's a local mailing, but even that is not a guarantee. So the bottom line is, because we are concerned that the people in foreign countries will not get these ballots until right close to the election, and we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to vote, We are having the ballots sent to the association so that anyone, every single owner can find out who has voted and who has not. It's not unique to the board, it's not unique to the candidates. Every single owner can go into the office and say, I want to see a list of who voted and who didn't. And there is nothing wrong with that. I get it that Ziggy, you don't agree with that. Fine, you can object. Jennifer certainly will in a minute. But there is
That's
nothing,
okay.
there is nothing
As long as
wrong
it's-
with that.
I have talked to the monitor, and the only problem with that is that you cannot really call the owner to provoke them to vote. You can only distribute the list, so this way owner knows that which ballot got received, which ballot hasn't arrived. So you cannot really tell specific owner to vote. And also, since I have the opportunity to talk, I want to promote every owner, when you send in your ballot, make sure you scotch tape all your outside envelope, so this way nobody can tamper your ballot inside.
You
Okay.
implying that there's
I
gonna
am
be
not
tampering
applying anything, I
occurring?
just want to prevent any tampering, okay?
That's the
I want
right thing.
everyone to,
Professional.
people who really eager to have a fair vote, you will agree with me, okay?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, this is a preventive measure, so please, everyone, scotch tape your outside envelope, so this way we do not have to worry about any tampering, okay? And we want a fair vote
Scotch tape the
process.
whole envelope if you like. That's fine.
Just the edges, so this way nobody can tamper the ballot or the envelope, okay?
Oh, boy.
Doesn't matter, you can laugh, but I want to make sure it's a fair election.
Yes, we all want to make sure it's a fair election. The vote,
Owners understand how to avoid any tampering or any.
We always
thing.
wanted a fair election.
Yeah, so then do what I just said, please.
Okay, so should we do the vote?
Yes, please.
all
Okay.
right, so how's it on the agenda? All right, so first we're gonna vote to hire the monitoring office. Okay, so somebody make a motion to hire a monitoring company to assist in the upcoming election.
All right, I'll make the motion to hire a monitoring company to assist in the upcoming elections. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, so it's 5-0.
Aye, Chris.
Oh,
Aye.
That's enough.
Okay, all right.
5-0. All right. So now the next one is gonna be, which I'm sure we're gonna have an opposition to, but it's a motion to send the ballot, it's either a motion to approve or ratify the decision to send the ballots to the Catania Management Office.
I make a motion.
Doesn't make sense.
I just want to, this
With
has
the
stopped
money,
taking down
why we
already,
don't send
so.
the,
But it's okay, the ballot already went out and I just approved it. But I want to, before we vote, I want to make sure there is a camera that point at the box.
Actually, that's
So-
what I plan to do. We're
Yeah.
gonna put it where the camera can grab it, so that it'll be sitting, where
And
the
then it will
desk
be a
is, so
continuous
that it's,
feed.
yeah, so everybody
Okay.
can see that.
And also, I want that feed to be posted somewhere, so everyone can know that who has access to the box. And also, are we going to have the ballot pulled out on a daily basis, or everything will be in the box and stay there until the election
I
day?
plan to keep it in the box.
you can't open the
How
box.
big is the
No, you
box?
can open the box, that's the point. Again, you can open the box so we can see who voted and who didn't. We will have a camera pointed on it at all times so that you can see that all you are doing is writing the names of the people who voted so that we can determine,
received.
right. I mean, candidates are permitted to call people and encourage them to vote, and the association can get involved if someone says, hey, I sent in a vote and you didn't get it, help me. There are ways to deal with these various different issues that are going to come up because we are sending out ballots so close to an election at a time when no one, well, not no one, but when a lot of the building has already gone home.
Can I put my envelope during the election?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you can hold on
Of
to
course,
it
you can hold on to your envelope, your ballot of the day of the election as well.
Do you want to actually, after we finish voting, do you want to take the opportunity to kind of at least instruct everybody how the envelope should be packaged? and then proxy, then everything else, how they should
Yeah.
be packaged into the envelope.
I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so
I
we're
think
gonna
that
just
would
first,
be, important.
yeah, it's a ratify, because we already did it. It's a that's why I wrote it that way on the agenda. It's a ratification of the board's decision to have all ballots. So a motion to ratify the board's decision to have all ballots sent to Catania Management Office. You wanna make that motion?
I'd like to make a motion to ratify the board decision to have all ballots sent to the Catania Management Office. Do I have a second?
I second.
I second the motion.
Okay, all right, we got 2 seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Stephen Dorito, aye.
Jennifer?
I still oppose, but I have no choice, it's already over, it's done.
Sharon,
So-
aye.
Okay, but
Okay.
you're still gonna oppose, so put that down.
It's 4-1.
4-1, okay.
So that completes the official business. I will say that the election procedure is somewhat complicated. If you haven't done this before, it is somewhat, as I said, complicated. But you're gonna get 2 envelopes, okay? You're gonna get 3 envelopes
You got the
probably.
package right
All right,
there.
if you have a package. One envelope is the proxy envelope, okay?
You just put it
Now,
over so he can actually
Yeah.
open and show people how to vote. So this way, because if you don't follow the procedure, your
Maybe she
vote,
can
your
hold
ballot
that
will
first
be
if you
thrown
want to have
out,
an extra
so.
packet. Let her have her.
On
packet.
hand right now? No.
Okay, so.
Hello?
all right, so if you don't mind, we're gonna
Okay, so-
open this, I mean, it doesn't really matter. They're all pretty much the same.
Oh, like that?
Right now, it's not
Oh,
that,
I mean, if somebody
Right
wants to
now,
open
it's
it,
not a big
I mean, I'm
deal.
gonna just rip it open if
after
somebody.
you finish voting, then it become a big deal.
Yeah.
His is already open,
Okay, then
sorry.
we use that one.
Okay. So,
Sorry.
first of all, it's somewhat complicated because you're voting on 2 different things, okay? And one vote, which is the amendment to your condo documents, which will allow certain alterations, because even though the railings do not need an owner vote, certain of them that we were thinking about doing do. So, or maybe do. And that was the other point that I made at one of the prior meetings, that in order to avoid legal expense, because again, one of the reasons the bill is high is because she argues, no, you need an owner vote. I have to be consulted for a legal opinion. I have to write a legal
The fee is
opinion.
high because sometimes.
All right, I withdrawn. I shouldn't have gone down that
Yeah,
rabbit
you
hole.
shouldn't
My
have gone
bad,
down
my
that
bad.
road.
We're
I'm
gonna,
sorry.
I said withdrawn. Okay, the bottom line is, you have
So
2
1
different.
minute of your fee should be removed.
Okay, fine. You have two different style votes. You have a proxy, okay? What this does is a couple of things. But the primary issue in this proxy is to allow the board to do certain material alterations within the next year, so that we don't have to keep sending out owner votes for certain things that may require a material alteration. Now, as I explained, there are arguments. The rail situation is not unique, right? There are other arguments for other parts of these projects that arguably get you out of the unit owner vote requirement. But rather than having to spend legal fees every time to go to a lawyer to consult whether this is something that needs an owner vote or doesn't, and frankly, to move this process along, you have all been in this state of construction zone for far too long. We want the board to be able to make certain decisions to get this building in order. So that is one of the primary issues in the proxy. The other issue, as I'm sure you all know, is that the annual meeting is supposed to take place in February. We're having it in May. We've beaten that issue to death as well. So I'm going to just simplify and summarize that we are voting to approve the moving of the annual meeting to May. Okay, we are also voting to end the staggering. We are not ending the staggering as to the existing 2 board members. They will keep their 2-year terms, so Chris and Jennifer will stay at least. And we've all, listen, I mean, these issues have been beaten to death, and we've talked about them, and I'm with you in many different meetings. You are entitled to your opinion. Ultimately, that's why you're getting this vote. Clearly, he doesn't think you should vote for it. I've already said I think you should for a number of reasons, including that this building needs to be restored, and if we send something to the owners on every possible material alteration, the construction will go on for a lot longer. But ultimately, it's your choice. The proxy can be signed by you and emailed to the association. Now, we've included, I believe, an envelope just in case you want to stick it in here. So there is an envelope that says proxy and or voting certificate reply envelope. However, that's why I said it's 2 originally, and then I realized there's a 3rd for this. This is optional. You can email your ballot, you can email your proxy, you can email your voting certificate to the association.
Or bring it by hand.
Or bring it to the office, or send it with a carrier pigeon. Kidding. But in any case, you can get the proxy in any way you can imagine, by fax, if anyone still has one of those, to the association. The ballot, however, cannot be sent that way. It has to be sent a specific way. So, again, if you have a scanner, you can just scan the proxy back to the association. The ballot, unfortunately, sorry, go ahead. You have a question? The ballot, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever it is, it requires this double envelope system. Okay, and the reason for that is your vote is supposed to be secret. So, you have a ballot in the envelope. Now, there's no magic to this envelope. So if you happen to lose this envelope, you can go to the store and buy another one. But the point is, there has to be an envelope inside another envelope, and the inner envelope has to be blank. It can't have identifying, and obviously you can say ballot envelope, which this one does, but it can't identify who is sending it, because the idea is it's supposed to be a secret ballot. This envelope has to go inside this envelope, another outer envelope, which has designated voter, address. Again, there is no magic to these envelopes. You can reproduce them at the store. So in theory, which is why it's important to call people, if someone in Argentina or wherever doesn't get their ballot, a ballot can be emailed and they can go to the store and purchase ballots and send them back. But obviously if you have the package, it would be best to use the official envelopes because it's easier and they're clearly marked. So the one that says ballot envelope is where your ballot goes, and there should be no identifying information on that ballot envelope. And then the outer envelope is what you sign, and of course you put your designated voter, your address, the unit number, and your signature. And then you take the inner envelope with your ballot, and you put it in the outer envelope, and you get it to the association. It can be only sent by mail or FedEx or something like that, because you obviously can't email a double enclosed ballot.
And Scotch tape the outside envelope.
This one, Scotch tape, this one.
Scotch tape the envelope, so that way there won't be any issue, okay? So that's
That's you. Is that his too?
yeah, that'll be here.
Are we done?
I think so, unless anyone else has any
Okay,
questions.
a question. What was the reason to remove the staggering of the board members and to change the board members' term to 1 year from 2 years?
The vast majority of condos do it that way. It allows owners to change their mind quicker. So if they don't like someone who's on the board, or like in this situation where you had a board where several people were not elected, but since no one ran, it gives an owner an opportunity to vote, because what we had the last year was no one ran. So people just get the seats automatically, and we don't want to just give away 2-year seats when we don't have to, right? The law, first of all, the vast majority of, not the vast majority, but the substantial majority, if that's any difference, of condos only have 1-year terms, and that is the decision that we think is preferable for many reasons, including that if someone defaults in without an owner vote, they're not there for 2 years, and also because if owners want to change their mind, they can do so quicker.
Or if you get a bad board member, you don't have to put them up with them for 2 years, unless you're going to recall them after the election.
Well, the negative thing is that theoretically 5 board members could be elected, and the next year another 5 board members be elected, and there is no continuity in a board. That's why the staggering is there.
It rarely happens that way, but it does happen from time to time. But of course, as you know, board members have an obligation to turn over all documents and to, there's also a lawyer that's going to have some continuity as well. There are other vendors that have continuity. You have a manager that will have continuity. But keeping, board members in for longer than necessary solely on the fear that the place will collapse without them is probably not a good strategy either.
Can I put the clocks?
I think it's important to note that it also gives the unit owners the opportunity to re-elect those board members, because if they're doing a good job, then people would want them to be back in there. If they're not doing a good job, they wouldn't want them to be back in there. Not only that, the board member doesn't want to be running again, I mean, the board member, you know, this isn't, indentured servitude or slavery. So it seems to be the best of all worlds, because it gives the unit owners the ability to voice their opinion and show that they're appreciative of those board members and they want them reelected. And you move on from there. So I don't understand the continuity issue. If the unit owners decide the continuity doesn't make a difference because they don't like the board member, then why should a board member be forcing themselves upon the unit owners?
I think it doesn't really matter at this point. The amendment is out for vote. And can they put that two-page the amendment in the same envelope, or they have to send it in a separate envelope?
You mean the proxy envelope?
Proxy
Yeah.
has to go in the proxy
That's proxy
envelope.
envelope.
That being
But if,
said, if they stick it in the
people
ballot
don't-
envelope,
you
we will
don't really
count
need
it.
to send in the proxy in your
No, as I
voting
said, as
yourself.
long as it arrives at
So
the
how about the
association.
amendment one? Can they send that with just the outer envelope?
You can get the proxy to the association in any way you can imagine.
Okay, yeah, so that way you only need to send one envelope, that would be a lot easier. The scotch tape everything, okay? That's
Just
very
said it.
important. Very important,
you-
I just want
what
to
do
keep
you
on
need to repeat
emphasizing
it?
that.
What do you need to repeat it?
Because I just want people
I wanna
with,
adjourn.
attention deficit to remember this.
Oh.
Oh.
All right, well, I would like to end this Saturday meeting myself, so
Okay,
unless
so I will
anybody
go ahead
has,
and close that.
all right, go ahead. Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead. She did everything.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What will happen if the other building doesn't like, because we are going to do different, the balcony with glass?
Right, so we've discussed that also in detail in
Oh,
many
I'm
of these
sorry.
meetings. No, it's okay. Listen, I haven't, you are someone I don't recognize, so it's possible you weren't at one of those meetings.
Fine lady.
So there is, long story short, a set of recreation documents. Now, again, part of the problem is that he's recording this, and this is gonna get out into the public certain legal discussion, which I really would rather he turn off the video.
You wanna join
So maybe,
Tommy and talk to her after?
maybe, yeah, I mean, it's not on the agenda, I will talk to you afterwards, because I don't wanna inflame the Recreation Association.
Yeah.
And this is not even on the agenda, I will talk to you after, but we have had these discussions at prior meetings, and there is an answer to it, and I'll talk to you as soon as the meeting's over.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Meeting